Hey, we're joined now by David Eckert from Blue and White Illustrated, Penn State's Rivals outlet. How are you, brother? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm doing good, Jim. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Football season getting under the way pretty nicely for Penn State so far. A lot different than last season.
Yeah, no kidding, man. They've been rolling. They've been taking care of the football, playing great defense. Sean Clifford looks like a good Division I quarterback, which you couldn't always say last season. So yeah, they're looking pretty good to start.
He's, I think, averaging 300 through the air right now, 300 plus. What's the difference between this year and last year for him?
Well, there's the new offensive coordinator for one, Mike Yurcich, who's done a great job. They're getting creative, and it's I don't want to say it's been easy for Sean, because that might take some credit away from him, and I don't want to do that. But the throws that he's making, he's not fitting throws into double coverage. He's not making laser beam throws over the top. Yurcich is scheming guys open for him. It's nice and simple. It's nothing crazy. And, he's had some good throws too, but I really think that the offensive coordinator change has made a big difference.
Yeah, Indiana had a change there 2 seasons ago, and don't know how much that has had an effect on Michael Penix Jr. coming back. He's recovering from his 3rd consecutive season-ending injury, 2 of those ACLs, and has just struggled. The offense itself has struggled. He seems to have struggled this season to get off onto a good start. The Iowa game where they opened the season, that was not good at all. And they've looked better, but still not where a lot of us thought that they would be. Right now, defensively, they look pretty good, and this is going to be exciting, I think, to watch Indiana's defense against this Penn State offense with Jahan Dotson and Sean Clifford doing so well.
Yeah, I think so. And it's every week's a different test for Penn State, and look, they have weapons on the outside, and I know Indiana's high on their secondary. They have some talent there. So it'll be interesting to see Jahan Dotson, Parker Washington, what they can do against that secondary. But, the other aspect of the start to this season is Penn State can't run the football right now. They just can't. It's very strange. They have some very good running back talent. Guys like Noah Cain, Kevon Lee. They brought in John Lovett, graduate transfer from Baylor, who has probably been the most successful of the 3 there. But if Indiana's defense can turn Penn State's offense one-dimensional, then I think maybe this game can be closer than some people think it might be.
Well, not only that, they have to turn it one-dimensional, and although that would be Penn State's better dimension, the passing game, then you've got to get turnovers. That's one thing that Indiana did great last year. They led the Big Ten with 20 turnovers, 17 interceptions. That has not been the case this year just yet. But if that's the only way I see Indiana staying in this game, is stopping the run, forcing them to throw only. But then you've got to turn them over at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, if you're Indiana, you're on the road against the top 5 team. Turnovers, special teams. You got to kind of win in the margins, right? And that's going to be a huge key. No doubt about it. And the aspect of Penn State's offense that, outside of the coordinator change is, look, they're not turning the ball over. They've got 2. Sean Clifford has 2 interceptions through 4 games. One of them was a heave at the end of the second half, or the first half, against Auburn. The other one was a drop by Keandre Lambert-Smith that got tipped. So they're playing smart. And yeah, if Indiana can change that, absolutely, this game can go in a totally different direction than what people think.
And the advent of having fans back is a huge advantage for Penn State this weekend, obviously, with 100+ nighttime Nittany Lions fans. You get it in the nighttime, one of the great environments in college football, but it'll be fun to watch. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge. What is Penn State? What's the word on there? What are they looking at? What's the concern from the Penn State side?
It's absolutely running the football. that's all anybody wants to talk about. You know, James Franklin is getting tired of talking about why his team can't run the football. You can tell. But you know, as far as Indiana, I think there's some concern about looking ahead to Iowa next week. Penn State has to go to Iowa. James Franklin is very not concerned, but he's always very, very adamant about you know, a 1 week approach. He won't talk about anything.
John, get that clip ready again, because we're going to play that, because that's actually goes right into, we have a clip that of him saying pretty much exactly what you're saying. If you've got that, John, go ahead and run that.
But our entire focus and energy is on beating Indiana this Saturday, this season. And although previous records, I think are interesting to look at, previous records against certain opponents and all these types of things. But at the end of the day, all that really matters is you have to find a way to beat the team that you are playing this Saturday. When we do our film breakdown, do we look at, especially at this point of the year where it's still fairly early, where you're looking at the most recent games played, and then do you also probably include our game last year? As long as most of the coordinators are the same, do you factor that in? Yes. But for us, we're trying to beat Tom Allen and the Indiana football team for this season and this season alone.
I mean, that's pretty distinct on what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's James Franklin in a nutshell. I think somebody asked him whether he felt his team was one of the best in the country or something, and he was not having it. And that's usually the tack that he takes for sure.
Well, you have to, especially when you're talking about them struggling so much with the run game, because that's when you end up a situation like Indiana last week. They lose to a Cincinnati team that basically they shouldn't have lost to. I just didn't see Cincinnati as being that good. They didn't. Indiana's defense had held them down the entire first half until they lost Micah McFadden. They just didn't do things offensively other than make some critical mistakes. And that's all it would take in a big-time game, to make some critical mistakes at the wrong time and things go the wrong way. So, yeah, that one game at a time mentality, especially if your goal, and I know it is, they want to win the Big Ten East. They're tired of finishing runner-up to Ohio State. Indiana's trying to break into this top 4 of the Big Ten East. So this Big Ten East has become a freaking juggernaut this year. I mean, Where the hell did all these good teams come from? Michigan looks so much better. Talk about a running game. That's probably the best part of their revamped offense is their running game.
Yep.
Which their running backs coach now is Mike Hart, who left Indiana to go there over the season. But yeah, you've got a Maryland team, but this Big Ten East, it's week after week is going to be tough.
Yeah, no kidding. Even Rutgers, right? I mean, Rutgers doesn't look bad. Rutgers under Greg Schiano, I think that's going to be a program you have to respect. So, yeah, there's Michigan State, right? Nobody had Michigan State in their top 25 before the season. You know, they're ranked now. So yeah, it's tough. There's going to be a lot of difficult games, and these, if you're Penn State, right, these are the games where, you know, you got to win at home. You know, you can't lose. You can't lose at home. You can't lose in prime time. If you want to get to that point that you're talking about, you want to win the Big Ten East. So they got to go to Ohio State this year. So, you know, it's you got to win all your other games, you know, and hope that you can eke one out in Columbus.
Yeah, and for Indiana, that's like I said, it's a difficult ask. The environment and all of that. Plus, Penn State's just looks to be a better team right now. You just have to say that. They're playing better. They're producing better. It doesn't mean you can't beat them. It doesn't mean things can't change. Things can't go wrong, turnovers, all that, like we said. But Indiana is going to have to play at a really high level with all of those circumstances in play, being on the road, the crowd, Penn State playing at a higher level right now. But you meant the running game. That could be the key if Indiana does stop them, and they have a secondary that can cause problems. They've got a pretty damn good defense and a good secondary, so it could make the game very interesting.
Yeah, I think so. And you know, there's to me, there's two ways that this game goes, right? It's Indiana cleans up their turnovers and they keep it tight. And you know, it's a close game. And then there's Indiana doesn't clean up their turnovers and Penn State wins by a few scores. To me, those are the two paths that this game can take. So yeah, I would agree with that. It's, you know, and if you're Indiana, you've got to find a way to score some points too, because, you know, Penn State's defense has played well. You know, they held Auburn to 20. They held Wisconsin to 10, if my memory serves there. Sorry. And yeah, they're playing well. So, you know, there's going to have to be some changing trends, I think, for this to go Indiana's way. But that, you're right, it doesn't mean that can't happen. You know, anything can happen. This is college football. That's what we love about college football, right? So
from the Penn State side, what are the concerns of playing Indiana? What from Indiana's standpoint?
The quarterback, I think, is probably the first one. You know, Michael Penix is a guy who's been around. He's shown that he can play. He's shown that he can beat Penn State, you know. So I think he's the guy that everybody's probably the most worried about. Then you look at Ty Freifogel, right? That's a weapon. Penn State feels really good about their secondary. So that'll be a big test. You know, Penn State's got they've got 2 super seniors and a redshirt junior and another senior in their secondary. So it's a really experienced group. There's going to be some guys playing on Sundays in that group too. So that'll be a big test for them. But yeah, I think the weapons on offense is probably the number one. And I think a lot of Penn State fans kind of have last season's Sean Clifford lingering in the back of their head a little bit. You know, I don't know if everybody fully believes that this is Sean Clifford. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's going to win games for you. I think, you know, maybe there's some cautious optimism that that's true, but I think Penn State fans kind of know, hey, you know, let's not accept this as what it's going to be right now just yet. So those would probably be the things that Penn State's thinking about.
And the fact of losing to Indiana on that last second 2-point conversion, I've seen so much about people all talking about revenge, and I'm saying that goes out the window as soon as that ball is kicked, man. I said that you can talk about that all you want leading up to the game, but when that ball is kicked, all of that is out the window because you have got nothing but game planning in your head and this and trying to recognize schemes and this and that. You're not thinking about revenge. You got 10,000 things on your mind and a crowd of 100,000 around you making all that noise. So the revenge thing is great to talk about, but at the end of the day, I don't think it means squat.
Yeah, they're not interested in entertaining that narrative at all. You know, they've been asked 2 or 3 times this week, whether it's Franklin or one of the players, and they're like, no, you know, we're not thinking about it. So whether they are thinking about it and they're just not telling us, possible, but I would agree that's not the focus at all.
Well, they'd have quite a few revenge games this year if that was the case.
That is true. Maryland and Iowa should be concerned.
Maryland, man, that's going to be a tough game for Indiana as they go on the road there. Man, David, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate you. I look forward to having you back on when basketball season will kick it around again.
Absolutely. Exciting times for Penn State basketball too. So I look forward to it.